the camera.
Yeah, because the thing is, I think she missed that couple of conversions, and now she still feels she's in control, and she absolutely is. But Nirgul is surviving for now.
Yeah. Surviving for the last 3 hours now.
Absolutely. And maybe it's time to switch to the Humpy game once, check what's happening there.
Some updates there, Sahil.
Yeah, Bishop F8, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and pawn takes pawn. So Humpy got her king to d5, Rakesh.
Yeah.
But Divya just exchanged 2 pawns. And
Very important.
Very important. And as of now, the bishops look like absolute monsters. But if Divya can somehow exchange a bishop for a knight and not lose the a7 pawn in the process with like king d6, I think there is some remote hope of some rook bishop versus rook, or rook knight versus rook. And that endgame, I mean, she would love to have that endgame right now.
True, and basically, let's just highlight the f4 and the pawns on the right side of the board, Sahil. So, what Divya's ideal scenario is to just trade these 2 pawns on the right side and sacrifice one of her pieces, ideally her knight, for that pawn on the left side of the board.
Yeah.
So, if once that happens, then suddenly there are those scenarios which you were mentioning, Sahil, and that gives Black great chances to defend.
I agree. So, such an important next 5 moves, I would say, Rakesh, especially because we are again for the second time headed towards time pressure, 14 minutes each. It does feel like White's moves are more natural, but I think for now it's pretty obvious my knight is not playing in the game. I have to bring it back.
Yeah,
so knight g4, maybe knight h6 and then knight f5 or whatever the maneuver will be, but knight g4 feels like an automatic move here for now.
Yeah, for sure. And that you're also threatening a knight e3 check after that, so I have to be worried about that and just maybe play bishop in the center.
And also bishop e5, it controls bishop e5, and that would be a big mistake because now guess what? Who got the first pass pawn, Rakesh? It's Black, and the game is dead equal actually with the opposite color bishops.
Yeah.
So knight g4, very practical move, and she does not find it. She plays rook f7. That is a slight, or I would say a more than a slight mistake. Attacks the f4 pawn, but White can forget about everything. Simply play bishop d4 and grab the a7 pawn, and that I think could be the end of the game.
Yeah, that's game over now, Sahil. Just bishop d4. The whole point, maybe. Let's show the chat what happens if Divya captures the pawn.
Yeah, f4 pawn.
You capture the pawn on the left side of the board, giving a check. If king comes ahead, it's a pin and wins. Yeah. And the rook is gone. And let's say you say, I'm still in the game, king goes back. Now you ignore everything and just say past pawns should be pushed.
Yeah, b6 directly should be winning.
There are better ways to.
In fact, bishop d7, bishop e6 is again that's a mating pattern that is literally made on the board. So I would say rook f7, that's a mistake, but very hard to defend this position, honestly. She's trying to simply grab a pawn and hope for the best. And Humpy now can find bishop d4. This pawn is not as relevant. Just focus on that treasure on a7.
And Conan in chat is saying, Zoo, Harika and Humpy, please win. And that might actually be a scenario, Sahil.
Very, very likely, actually. And 3 games remaining so far. So, Rakesh, let's say you suffer a heartbreaking loss, just like Vaishali suffered yesterday. We had the same discussion now, Divya and other players as well. What's the first thing you do on the day of the game? So do you like go back and prepare, or do you just go relax, go for a walk, watch a movie? Like, what's the better approach?
There are plenty of different approaches. You can maybe listen to some songs, talk to a friend, but I just go and eat a pizza.
I mean,
any comfort food.
Yeah, nobody can say anything against pizza though, that's for sure.
No updates in the other games either. Let's have a quick look at Zoo game, because
by the way,
our co-leader of the tournament.
Knight went from b7 suddenly to I don't know how it switched to the king side. Knight b7, I think we saw last, right? Once, this is where we left, knight b7. And then somehow the knight came back. They repeated, I think, once. Then queen a2, controlling that important line again. f5, Black tries for counterplay. Knight e6, rook f6, knight g5 check, and king g7 was the only move. Of course, there's no doubt. So king h8, I think, should be obvious. There are multiple ways to win this. But the best and the most beautiful
Queen
way-
F7, right?
Yeah, chat. Queen to F7. What a move. Threatening checkmate in one. And if you take, I grab the rook, King G7, knight takes, and this is just a rook against knight. And I will push B5, grab the A7 pawn and queen. So would have been beautiful, but King G7, nice move. Black is absolutely on point, even with 4 minutes. Queen B3, Queen B8, and this is the current position. Slightly better for white, but black is fighting.
Yeah, and you see only 4 minutes and Bishop D4 played. I think this will be the last game to finish. So let's come back to Humpy's game where she is completely winning after Bishop D4. Look at those well coordinated pieces, Sahil. Two of white pieces are in the center.
Yeah, sometimes people ask what is coordination in chess. Look at these pieces, bishop and rook, together removing the obstacle to the pawn.
Yeah.
Then the pawn itself being the killer piece to win the game, and the bishop supplementing the pawn to the b7 square. So all of these pieces, in fact, even the king, are only aiming at one thing: to promote this pawn to b8 and make a new queen. Bishop h6 played. Maybe just rook a7 wins. I think that should be a very simple win for white. We can't see the board as of now. Maybe, there's something wrong there. We'll have the board in a second. But Divya looks dejected right now. I think she understands the game is
Tough loss.
Yeah. And Humpy, even after the commotion or whatever happened, did not give a single chance there to Divya. Found that king f3, king e4, king e5.
Amazing game.
And this should be smooth.
I think, Sahil, remember this was the game right from the start, h4, h5, played by Humpy. So from start to finish, this was an amazing game.
Yeah. Everything looks great. Maybe we can refresh everything. I'm pretty sure the players would also prefer a refresh here, but yeah, they have no respite. Time travel is about to hit. So this is
the second time.
Second time, yeah. Meanwhile, chat, how are the games? I think today's games were really exciting, Rakesh. I love looking at these games. 650 people watching again on the FIDE channel. I've enjoyed these games thoroughly today.
Yeah, me too. And I think chat has been amazing today as well.
Yeah,
very active. So many comments. And letting us know their favorite players, their favorite games today. So would really appreciate the same tomorrow as well. But Sahil, just a quick point I want to show you.
Yeah.
Like, what is Divya's idea after Bishop h6? This rook takes pawn on the left side.
Yeah.
Black captures the rook. Bishop takes. Now black eliminates the second last pawn. Only one pawn remaining. And now if you are in a hurry and play pawn to b6, suddenly bishop comes.
Yeah.
And now this might still win. Two bishops against a knight and a pawn. But you just made your job that much more difficult.
Yeah, this should likely be a draw, Rakesh, in fact, because knight and a pawn, black will have some sort of...
But that's like a very nasty trap set up by Divya here.
So that's why you first play bishop c5 and you simply block everything. The knight is a slow piece and you can start pushing the pawn. And before...
King e6 by Humpy though.
King e6, that's interesting. Also works, I think.
Like
because
the best move in the position.
Yeah, also works because I think the rook has to go backwards, right? How do you really control? Because rook c7, there is bishop e5.
King g8 played by Divya. Again, players following the best moves.
The only move actually for Divya, I think. And now I think rook a7 should be pretty normal. I think the king being on the back rank also makes it worse for Divya somehow.
Yeah. And do you think she'll capture the pawn now?
Yeah, 100%. I think she will grab the pawn because bishop d4, once you play, you understand what you're aiming for. You need to give the f4 pawn. That's not as important. Your entire focus is on that one pawn. She will calculate till the very end. She has time and then she'll play it.
Yeah. And she goes for it, Sahil. Rook. No, bishop takes pawn. Oh, I just saw the capture on a7. Okay, so this is another idea. So she just wants to keep the rooks on the board just in case there are some, drawish end games there.
I think she wants to maintain that mating attack. Bishop e5, rook a8 check. So the bishop can join in at some point. So she wants both some sort of, bishop attacking chances as well as the potential of the passed pawn. I think rook a7 was also, I think, possible there. But it's just a preference at the end.
Yeah. Bishop a7. 13 minutes.
Yeah.
for Divya.
675 people watching right now, moving towards 700 as the third game comes to a close pretty soon. Meanwhile, other two games, Harika is still completely winning, and the Zujina game seems to be slightly better for white, but black has 2 minutes only. So this is the camera for the Humpy game again. Divya, 12 minutes now. Okay.
Yep, looks. I think time is the least of her worries because this B5 pawn is what's going to decide this game, I think, and
Yeah.
in White's favor, sadly, if you're a Divya fan. But
But
overall, nice game played from her.
but have to admire Humpy's is all there, kind of finding all these good moves
Yep.
and put a lot of pressure on Divya there. Not to forget that knight d5, knight f4, knight h5 maneuver. That was so beautiful, and Divya lost her light square bishop, and that's exactly what's costing her right now. This pawn would have been on f7, and she would have a light square bishop on g6, and there would be no stress, like these two bishops are really causing all the pain.
Very true, very true. And I think even after a little bit of commotion that we had, still very well. I mean, Humpy kept her composure very well there and is close to winning her first game of the event.
And
Both Humpy and Harika might score their first win.
and that means one of the leaders of the tournament has been has gone down, and she will join maybe the leaders again, but it will be a bigger group.
Yeah.
And also Zujina's game becomes very important. But yeah, it's the same thing again. Rakesh, we're seeing this finishing off the Bisleri bottles. Once you know the game is over, unfortunately this time it's for a loss.
Yeah, it's 4.5 hours in. You gotta be hydrated, everyone. Do get your Bisleri while Sahil grabs one. I think a producer should grab on the camera of Zujiner versus
he should
Salwa
have-
because it's only 1 minute left.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, let's go there quickly. Black has
Ooh.
only 1 minute left. It's like deja vu, Sahil. Time pressure yet again.
And 97, wait, what?
What?
Oh, 97, there is queen d8. What a move that is.
Under time pressure.
Knight f6, queen d1,
Oh
and black
my
is
God.
winning. Black is winning. Oh my god, such a trap there. Great trap by black. White should not. I mean, 97 is okay, but you have to be careful about your future moves there. Zujiner, the second leader of the tournament, along with Divya. Divya going down. Will Zujiner be the sole leader at 3 points? Will she take a draw? That will also maintain her sole lead. Or will she also crumble here under pressure?
Yeah, and Sahil, just for fun, knight d7, let's show it to the chat. Instead of queen d8, what if I go the funny looking rook d6 with a queen sacrifice?
Oh,
Does that work?
That is beautiful. If you take the queen, rook d1, and the knight on g3 will get a medal tomorrow. But unfortunately, Rakesh, there's a beautiful move for white. Rook to d4.
Oh, no way. No way.
That is insane. Just sacrificing the rook, knowing you've blocked the rook here, and now you can take the queen and white wins. And this pawn is simply not fast enough because there is e5. And if rook
Wait. e5, d2. Oh, queen h4. The queen is opening up. That's
queen
the big
opens
problem.
up, and even knight c6, and even if you queen, I will at least have a piece extra. So I think this is just gone. So this is the current position. White has a lot of time to calculate, but black doesn't.
Sahil, what is the probability we see knight d7, rook d6?
I cannot believe it. Can we rush to the Harika game? This is going to be a draw.
No way. What?
Harika has messed the game up, unfortunately. She had multiple moments where she could have finished the game on the spot. And Nurgul, after a Herculean defense, is back in the game. I think she just kept fighting. Knight f6 was the start of the problem.
Yeah.
And rook c8. And she played queen d4. And that was a mistake. She needed to find queen to e1. And if queen c5... Now she had to find some insane move like knight h7, trying to win the knight, or even g5 apparently.
No, it was you have to safeguard against the queen f8 mate, Sahil.
Yeah. Now I get it, yeah. But maybe that's why she panicked, Rakesh, and that's why knight f6 was a bit slow, maybe.
I mean, I think kudos to Nurgul. What a defense here if she manages it. Remember, now you can't even go rook d5 again because that's a repetition.
Yeah, and if a7 falls, Rakesh, if you are asking me, who's bet? You cannot lose a7 at any cost.
Then
White starts thinking, whether I should win or not.
that would just be horrible, Sahil. I mean, to go down in that fashion.
And Rakesh, so objectively, if you look
Oh,
at
she's going to go rook d5, Sahil. Are we going to see a draw?
No, by the way, objectively, is this position, winning for black?
Not
I
at
don't
all.
think so.
Not
I think
at
this
all.
is better for black with the extra pawn, but you have to kind of push these pawns. E4, F5, bring the king to the center, maneuver the knight to an active square, keep the A7 pawn defended, and gradually do something. This is a long game for Harika now. She can still win this, but if she plays rook d5, it will be repetition likely.
Because let's just show it to the chat. Rook d5. Nurgul happy with the draw, so we'll go rook
Once
c7
this has been repeated, right?
Yeah.
And this is once. Now this, if she plays, will be twice.
Correct. So rook c7. Let's just
Yeah.
show what happens after rook d5. Rook goes to the 7th. Harika captures the pawn.
Yeah.
Now the bishop comes into the play.
Yeah.
And that is the critical problem.
And that is already completely equal. And now the bishop shows its power. Okay, now you're playing with the light squares.
Wow.
So
Pawn to e4 being played. Yes, we have it on the board.
that is a great move from Harika, maintaining her winning chances. And I think it will be a long struggle now. Maybe knight e8,
Yeah.
knight d6, f5, king to f6. Gradually you offer a rook trade, gain some more space. She will basically have to win this game again, Rakesh.
But Sahil, this is so difficult psychologically because, like, if we understood it, I'm sure Harika also knew that she was completely winning,
Yeah.
and now she has to maybe play for another couple of hours to convert this.
This is very hard to convert now, but she's still a pawn up. At least she has winning chances. Going back to the Humpy game, bishop a7, Divya is still thinking, Rakesh. She's not able to come up with a single move to offer any resistance. She only has 6 minutes now. So things running down to the wire, and I think we might see resignation in the next 2 moves here.
Ooh, wow, what about a turnaround, Sahil, in that game, in Salimova's game?
Yeah. And you can imagine if Salimova draws that game, I mean, it will give her the world of confidence. I wouldn't like to be her tomorrow's opponent, to be honest.
What a defense, but she played 23 moves in 5 minutes because of the time pressure. But that
She
is
plays
what-
Munguntul tomorrow, so that will be a match I'm already waiting for. But by the way, tomorrow's pairing is very interesting. I think Harika against Vaishali will be very interesting. As you can see there, we have Salome against Divya. So Divya, can she strike back after that loss? Humpy, can she continue the winning run? Or will Paulina strike tomorrow? Then we have Harika, Vaishali in an all-Indian clash. Munguntul in that crazy form, can she also continue? And then Zujiner, of course, depending on today's game. So exciting clashes tomorrow as well.
And Sahil, just look at that pairing. If Zujiner wins today 3-on-3, then she plays Alina, who is in a terrible form. So she might even
Wow.
go 4-on-4. So that's going to be an important result in that game. But we should come to we should just stay on this game because this looks like it will finish very soon.
Yeah, everything looks amazing from our perspective as commentators and viewers, but one of the players will always not walk happy out of any chess game. Yeah.
Yeah, and random things in the chat is saying a very good point that only Humpy from the Indian contingent has any chance of qualifying from the Grand Prix series, and that too if she wins the event outright. And they are saying that, so I wish she converts. So plenty of supporters for Humpy in the chat, and that's a great fact. Humpy has to win, and that is why Humpy beating the leader and joining her on 2 points is critical for her qualification chances.
But for Humpy to win, Zujiner also has to falter at some
Yeah.
point, and Zujiner as of now has no intentions of doing so. She's just moving forward. If you have a look at that game, Queen d3 was played in that game instead. So no knight d7. She controls the d file for herself, and now Queen d6 offering a queen trade. If you do take this, Black will take with the pawn, and to be honest, Black is now better. So White should not trade those queens.
Yeah, and let's say you can't be greedy, Sahil, by playing knight b7 because it's a fantastic line with queen takes queen,
Oh,
rook takes, and now rook comes to the first rank with a checkmating idea.
it's all about, can Black utilize these tactics to get some advantage? If Black cannot get to the first rank, White is playing for 2 results. Like the knight is basically, it has one job.
Correct.
It has one job to control the h1 square. So White's knight is doing a lot more tasks here. But if you go wrong, you lose in one move. That's why.
And exactly that's what another way where how you can go wrong is queen e3 check. You think, okay, you are smart, and king moves, and now I get a free queen. Rook takes queen,
Rook takes
but
queen.
no, you play.
Rook F1.
No,
there
I
is-
think knight F1 check.
yeah, King H7 maybe you play, and if Rook
Yeah.
D6, there is Rook F1. And apparently Rook D1 now, you sacrifice the Rook and Queen G1. I mean, it's and there's some sort of repetition here. I mean, this is insane.
And that would be an insane defense by Salomon, who's been playing on the defensive side throughout this game.
Blue Light says that's sad for Divya. Still rooting for her. Where is Tanya? Tanya was commentating at some other event right now, so I don't know what was the qualification there, but as of now,
but that's good news for you fans because Tanya will be joining us most likely in this event.
hopefully. But as of now, what White is hoping for is to somehow enter Black's 8th rank. And what Black is hoping for is to enter White's 1st rank. So this is all about the back rank right now. 1 minute for Black here, 15 for White. That is a huge tilt in White's favor. But I still love this knight on G3. Extremely deadly.
Yeah. I think, some White played something.
Queen B1. Okay, so now what does Black do? Very important. The queen has to go somewhere. And by the way, now if Queen B8, Knight D7 wins on the spot. So because the rook is defended.
Sahil,
So
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What if I capture your queen? Sorry, your rook. And then I go with rook F1 for the draw.
but unfortunately now takes King G1, knight somewhere. I think my pawns are further advanced, Rakesh, and White should be better here. The knight also looks a bit trapped if you're asking me.
Yeah, but it's funny because the material is
Yeah.
completely equal, Sahil.
Yeah.
And maybe Salome is thinking that what if this variation happens? What percentage would you give?
No, I don't think so. Because even if you don't understand how bad it is, you understand it's bad. And you would not like to go into that position with seconds on the clock. When you still have this tactic, Black knows if White goes wrong, I could win in one move. That's huge incentive to keep the queen, rook, and knight all on the board.
So then I think that leaves with what do you play as Black? If Queen B8, Knight D7 is lost.
I think Queen C7 is the only move.
But then
here.
you think Rook D7 is coming in and that pawn. But then your trump card of the Rook coming to the first rank is then again available.
If White comes in with Rook D7, Black can simply drop back to the 8th rank. And if you dare capture E7, what happened?
Yeah, no. Let's just zoom in full screen because 15 seconds.
Ooh, this is difficult. She needs to find Queen C7. That's the
Only move. Wow, what a player. She finds it.
So Queen E7 on the board. Now Rook D7 does not do much because Queen B8 or Queen C8. And if you grab this pawn, Rook F1 and your queen is lost. So I think it's a very double-edged position. White still, I don't think, has an advantage, Rakesh.
But I think she's going to win because Salome played the last move with just 5 seconds on the clock, Sahil.
I still feel, I think Black has understood the piece placement here. Where do the pieces belong?
That is amazing.
Knight G3, Rook F6, and the queen just plays around this D file. So I think she's understood the piece placement here. And potentially, with White not having like 50 minutes like she had yesterday, she has 14 minutes. I think Black still has good chances. And I would say if White had 1 minute, I would say White has more chances to lose. Because if White makes a mistake, it's over.
It's that example which we've been seeing throughout today that if White over pushes, Black will win. So we've seen that prevalent in all games. Whereas I'm just also checking no updates in Humpy versus Divya.
Yeah.
So
Divya has 3 minutes now, so we will go back with that game soon, in a minute or two. As of now, we are looking at this important game. Zujiner, who has a chance to take the lead, a 1-point lead, just after 3 runs.
Yeah, and she's the winner of the last Grand Prix. If she started with 3-on-3, you really expect her to go on and finish this event as well with another win.
A question from Mr. 64. Dear commentators, what is Humpy thinking right now? I think from Humpy, she's just trying to find the cleanest way to win. So when you're completely winning, right, you don't want any counterplay from your opponent. So you take all your time, find one move that just ends the game as soon as possible. By the way, what happened there? Oh, wait, look at this.
Bishop F4?
No, in this game, Queen C7. Look at this. Can you go back? Yeah, Queen C7.
Yeah.
Queen D3, Queen D6. You've seen repetition now.
But I'm sure White is not repeating.
Because we've seen this exact position twice. So if Queen B1, Queen C7, we could see a draw in this game. Super crucial moment for white. What does white do? Because look at this, Rakesh. Queen c2. There is also knight f1 check apparently.
Oh,
Because
uh-oh.
knight e3 is in the air and knight g3 again. And what do you do? King g1, knight g3 back. You still can't take the queen.
Because now it's a checkmate. In
Literally, that was not even,
I think Zujidar with 13 minutes on the clock might take a couple of minutes because it's a critical moment. What if we go to Divya's game because she's just has 2 minutes.
So
and the bigger problem is that b7 pawn.
Yeah, king e6 is where we left it, and king g8 and bishop takes. It was the last move. Bishop takes f4, and now bishop to c5. Look at these bishops. Yeah, dominant pieces cutting across on the king side, supporting the pawn. I mean, they are the best supporting role actors, deserving of an Oscar at least.
And look at that knight. Black would be so happy to have that knight somewhere in the center or near the king, but it's just too far away. And
imagine, Chad, if black had a passed pawn somewhere here, just like white, the bishop can stop that pawn all the way from c5,
correct,
and still support the pawn. The knight cannot do both, and that's why double bishops are so strong. If you remove even one of these bishops, right, suddenly black gets into the game. So both of them are dominant.
And Sahil, I know we are switching games a lot, but we have to go to Harika's game because she is winning again. Because you mentioned black has to put something on e3 and she has managed to do that.
Oh, by the way, we saw e4 last. Lots of moves come in. Bishop h3, rook d1, king g2, rook d2, king g1, knight d5, bishop c8, and e3 finally. And now bishop b7. All was good. Offer trade. She could have traded actually. I don't know if that's objective winning or not. But rook b5 was a mistake. Check. King f2, knight g4, great move. And now I think she might lose the h2 pawn as well. And the a7 pawn is still far away from being grabbed.
Yeah, and the simple point being if the king slides to the right, there's a simple rook check and you pick up the pawn on h2.
Yeah, and king f3. Again, you do not want to do this because f5 and it's literally mate.
Yeah, and it's like another chance for Harika to finish this.
Yeah. So this is the golden opportunity. Knight g4. The 8 minutes is 6 minutes for both players. I love how all the games are coming to an end together. This is so nice. And by the way, knight g4. Now I think Nurgul will, of course, not be so happy, right? Because earlier she was dexter. Yes, she expected to lose at some point, but now it looks really bad.
Wow. Sahil, by the way, if we just check in with Zhu Chinna's game, she played queen c2, but black did not play your trick.
Oh, but okay, queen 7. I think she's offering a draw, right? So black is okay with the draw.
Yeah,
so she's basically saying, what's your move? And now queen d3 would be an instant draw.
Do you think Zhu Chinna will repeat or she wants to play it?
I think she will repeat because, oh no, king g1, no draw yet.
I think she would have agreed to a draw if her opponent had more time.
What happens to queen d6 now? I am in for repeating moves.
Does that work? Because
if king h2 is a draw, right?
Queen c1 check and you lose the queen. That's a trap.
King c1, g5.
Just capture the rook and your knight e2 check.
I take this.
Oh my God. And you're winning.
It's a draw.
Knight d7.
Knight d7. Oh, knight d2 is losing actually. Knight d7 you'll have to play. Knight e2 check, king h2, knight c1, knight f6. And maybe they can calculate this, but I think, maybe queen d6 is too much, yeah? I think she's basically playing on the clock. If black had more time, I think white would have likely taken the draw. It's more about the clock here. Practical play.
She's played something on the case. G5.
G5, avoiding any checks. So great move by black. I think
with only 20 seconds ahead.
20 seconds. Smooth chess, no issues, avoiding any counterplay whatsoever.
Wow. A5?
5 doesn't change the position much. I think black can also wait.
It just feels so risky, this rook f1, rook h1 checkmate idea.
I mean, the knight on g3 could be on vacation right now. It doesn't have to move for the rest of the game. It has one job, just to occupy its spot.
For sure, for sure.
Mr. is asking, why are the commentators ignoring chat? We're not ignoring you guys. There's a 15-minute delay. That's why when we see your comments, you'll have to wait 15 minutes for a reply. And look at the beautiful queen sacrifice on d8. It's a brilliancy, by the way. If you are daring enough to take the queen, you will lose your king. It's mate in 2. So do not do that. So queen d8, great move. I think now maybe the rook has to move somewhere.
Maybe not immediately, but also I think black's threat is, if you don't do anything, I'm going to play queen f8 and threaten rook f1 check again.
That's a great point. And then white has to be even. Oh, queen b1. It's a mistake, apparently. Wait, what? Black is better.
No way, chat.
Oh, she has to find queen to g8 and pawn to g4. Okay, that is really...
That's tough with only 20 seconds.
Not going to happen.
Black has only 20 seconds, chat.
That will never happen, actually. I think the idea is if you play queen f8 here, trying to mate, I think knight d7 wins. That's the trap from white.
Yeah.
I don't think black will fall into that one at all.
2 seconds! She had just 2 seconds. And she makes a mistake. Can we zoom in and show the clock somehow, if possible?
No, I think it's understandable at the end. Queen g8 would have been impossible.
Yeah, queen g8 was no way. She was playing that.
Full pressure on both the players as we have...
Yeah, Sahil, there you see 32 seconds for white. For black, I mean, wow.
2 seconds.
And Sahil, we have IB in the chat who's saying go Nurgyul also. So we have fans from Bulgaria as well. And she put a mammoth defense, but sadly is now losing.
I think all these players have so many fans. And yeah, looking at these two games as of now, still 30 seconds. One look at the Harika game, by the way, she has grabbed the pawn on h2. So that is gone. And now I think from white's perspective, it's all about grabbing this a7 pawn.
And Divya has resigned.
Divya Deshmukh resigns her game. I think we missed a couple of moves there, but we will go through them. I think rook f5 was played, bishop d4, king h7, bishop e4, the bishops in the center of the board, rook h5 and rook a8, threatening checkmate on h8, and there is no defense. So what a smooth game from Humpy there, and hard luck to Divya, who had a couple of victories, and now we'll have to strike back tomorrow. But Humpy getting her first win of the tournament.
And much needed, because she is the only Indian who has a chance of qualifying for the candidates. And smooth game, great opening preparation, h4, h5 in the English opening, and flawless game from start to finish. And Humpy is in the second spot now with Divya and Shuvalova.
And by the way, not to forget, 3 results so far, 2 results and 1 draw, 2 wins for one side and 1 draw. And let's head off to the other 2 remaining games. One look at the Harika game, something has changed. By the way, bishop c8 played and rook g2. So Harika basically is going to chomp on all the black pawns on the king side. And white is essentially saying, this is all I have. This is all I have. I'm going to go all in for it, but I think it might not be enough.
Yeah, and white is like banking on the fact that you're going to get that a7 pawn no matter what. So, and then try to use that pawn to get your knight, or just putting white is going all in on that ace a5 passed pawn.
Yeah. The thing is, I think even if I have a rook at some point, let's say just to show a random variation, bishop, rook b7 played, by the way. Ooh, that's not a good move, because
you have knight e5 and knight c6, but I don't think black is going to play that, because rook.
I can pick up the a5 pawn.
She plays that. She
can pick up the a5 pawn.
That's the whole point. It's the safest way to victory.
Yeah. So knight e5 check, and the king, if it approaches d4, then knight c6 check, loses the a5 pawn. King c4, d4 are not possible, that means. And king e4, I think, anyway, maybe knight c4, knight c6. And if you go a6, Rakesh, how are we tackling this?
Can I go just rook to the side?
Because it feels obvious, but suddenly you can see the bar go up, and this pawn, maybe bishop d7 first, removing the knight, and now grabbing this. And with just the rooks, this might have been winning for black. But with the bishop as well, this is not extremely
Just
clear.
tricky again.
Yeah, so I think Harika still has to be precise here. King e4 played, okay. Yeah, yes, Alfred Divya did lose, unfortunately. So, but great victory for Humpy there. And King e4 moving towards the center. Now, only two moves possible. One of these choices. By the way, what happens on knight c4? That's interesting. What happens knight c4? Because I'm threatening the pawn, and if a6, I have knight d6.
King f3 then?
But king f3 is awesome. Rook a2.
No, a6, knight d6, and then I.
A6, but that should be awesome, right? Knight d6, king f3, rook a2. This should be game over, right? This is over.
I can't capture, yeah.
This is over. I mean, you have to, this is completely over. So I think this should be the simplest way, but
it's in fact, ace. What if I go knight c4, push the pawn, check, I attack your knight. You capture my bishop.
Bishop, of course, bishop. I think I have to the bishop. I think this side thing might be winning as well, but I'm not going to risk it. Yeah, this is also winning. I just only b2. Yeah, the a pawn also runs actually, so both are winning.
Like Harika is ready to play.
Yeah, she's pulled her hands multiple times. But I think that indecision, right?
Yeah.
Is the reason why she complicated matters a little bit. But I think she has to find knight c4 or knight c6. Knight c4 looks cleaner.
Are those the only moves that keep the advantage?
Yes. Rook e2 kind of gives some chances, but I think knight has to come to the queen side.
She's eyeing the knight. That's good news.
Yeah.
Knight
c4. Nice move. This should take home the point for her. Attacking the pawn. If the a5 pawn falls, literally you could lose the knight and still not lose this game. Yeah. So I think this is a very smooth game forward. Okay, so now Nirgul with 3 minutes on the clock. Meanwhile, one important change in the endgame there we saw in the Zuzhina game was queen d7, queen c7 we saw, queen d3, queen d6 was played, and white traded queens. Knight d7, rook, and now this might be a repetition, Rakesh, because, for example, rook e6, knight f8, rook f6, knight d7, we might just see a draw, because how can white win this when there's a rook f1 threat?
No chance.
I could literally play rook f7. I mean, okay, there's a check actually. So, oh wow, by the way, this rook d6 and this is also equal. So that means it's a draw, yeah? White is not winning this, I think.
Yeah. And just if you go couple of moves back side, queen d6. Yeah. And I thought, wait, haven't we seen this position and isn't this a draw? But then I remembered the pawn was added on g5 from g6.
Yeah.
So that was not a threefold repetition there.
Subtle difference there, which is enough to change the
3 seconds. Oh, she just managed to play against Sahil. That was so close.
If she had played comfortably, like our opponent would accept a draw like way back.
But she played on 2 seconds now. Rook d6 is a check.
And still it's equal. That's the power of this knight.
Both the players don't know that.
Yeah, true.
We might see a result, Sahil. But in case this ends in a draw, it's a dream day for Humpy, where the lead is cut in half.
But also there's the e4 pawn hanging. So does white want
rook d6 check by Zuzhina, Salome writing, and kudos to her. She has played the longest game in all 3 rounds so far.
Yeah. Rook comes back to d1, and now we will see rook takes e4, I think, defending the pawn on e5 as well. And yeah, most likely a drawing coming in this game.
Yeah, this should be a draw.
No updates in the Harika game right now. So, by the way, Nirgul has 1 minute. So that's also maybe that will finish first. So let's start off with that game, I think. And as of now, knight c4, 1 minute and 20 seconds remaining for white.
You can see her, very happy rocking in her chair, and just shows now she knows she's 100% winning, Sahil.
Yeah. Usually there's no
It's
100%.
like a confidence dance, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but there's no 100% usually, Rakesh. Just like you can't reach the 100% speed of light, just like, in this position, you never be sure.
now I think she's sure. Come on. There's going to be a trade for sure, and
Yeah.
she can win that.
Okay, so white. What will white do as the last try? Will it be king f3? Will it be, I don't know, rook a7? But rook a7 can't be that move. Important moment. 30 seconds now. 35. She's about to play a move.
Moving the rook c7.
Ooh,
So
rook
allowing the
c7.
trade. Knight d6 check. Maybe she wants to attack the rook with king f3.
Yeah, but now rook a2, Rakesh, and somehow I think if I win the a5 pawn, I'm going to win the game. So you somehow have to avoid that. So what if I go forward here? Knight c8,
Capture.
rook c8, rook g3. Rooks, yeah, there is no way.
We have rook g5 check also to capture.
Yeah, then there is absolutely no way. Yeah, you can't really. Okay, 3, rook c6. Yeah, this is
now it's just too
little too slow. I mean, just to kind of show a sample variation. You've not even grabbed the pawn and I'm queening. So this is just gone. I think she found the right plan here. Knight d6 should take the point home.
Knight d6, yeah, upcoming.
She can also take the pawn on a5, by the way. That's also a possibility. But I think
now then bishop to e6 and
maybe rook f2 then, and you kind of hold on. But yeah, I think this is
check
simple
on the board.
Because rook endgames are most common. They are the most researched by players, and you kind of understand what's the evaluation. So that's why people feel comfortable going to the game. Just both as losing as a winning side. Yeah,
true. And rook is attacked. Rook has to go behind the pawn.
Yeah,
there you go. What? Oh, no. It was a DGT.
Yeah, happens sometimes. Rook to a2 now, and the a pawn will be lost. I think we might see resignation soon from Nirgal. Would love to see a different camera angle if there is one where we can see both the
side on.
Yeah, this is okay. But hard fought game from Nirgal, I think.
I mean, kudos. What a fight. And bishop to e6. Attacking the rook.
But unfortunately, the knight is actually, I can just take rook d7 and just, I think, rook a6 or rook e5 both kind of do the job.
And the best technique would be just throw in one check with rook a3.
Yeah, also possible.
So you push the king back and then you capture.
Yeah.
And Harika going for the pawn immediately. You're completely fine, totally winning.
I think we'll see resignation after
rook d7 played. Now rook a6 and white resigns.
Rook a6 should be winning. In fact, rook e5 should be winning. Yeah, it's also winning, I think. But I think rook a6 is pretty smooth. I think a couple of more moves in this game probably.
In fact, the best, cleanest way to win is activate the last piece with king to f6. Yeah, remember Humpy brought the king very nicely in her game, and that's the best way.
Nice. Yeah, that's quite clean. Bishop goes back somewhere. Oh, where does the
bishop
go back?
Exactly.
There is no square actually. Bishop b3, rook a3.
No. Rook check it. So you just go king e5.
King e5.
Knight on d6 is amazing. It's protecting everything.
Bishop f7. Knight f7, rook f7, and check.
No, you don't want to play this, I think.
No, I mean, 2 pawns up.
Yeah.
Harika, by the way, 5 minutes on the clock. So this is I think the final critical decision she'll make in the game.
True. Now, just having a look on the other game, looks like Zhu Junior has made something out of that drawish endgame. And Salome had just 12 seconds. And white has some chances, Sahil, in this game.
Yeah, because the knight is not on g3. That's my problem. I think we should.
yeah.
I mean,
petition
92 check. Why? I mean, I can't imagine white winning that. Of course, white can try to grab a few pawns with the knight and try to create a passed pawn. But usually, I think rook takes e4 would have been smoother, maybe. But she still is threatening to grab some pawns.
Rook check. But it's like, you are playing on seconds. again 38 seconds. And King f6 played by Harika though, which we were discussing.
Yeah.
I think our team will let us know if there is a resignation incoming on that board. And yeah, there is
There it is.
resignation.
So Nurgul, after a very very long struggle, one which almost turned the tables, Rakesh. I think even though she lost, I think she will go back and look at the game and say, you know what, I did fight.
She'll be proud of herself today.
Yeah, she there are some really good elements there in the game, and she fought really well. And Harika maybe might not be as happy, when she goes back and checks, that she missed out a few wins. But overall, her first victory in the event, 1.5 out of 3, and a good day for Harika there as well.
Yeah, and it's a good day for her at the office and good day for chat as well, because we are hearing she might be joining us.
Wow.
In the
So
broadcast.
Rakesh will have his questions ready. Meanwhile, good to kind of go to the final game quickly and check out what's happening there.
White has some chances though. I really feel, there are plenty of chances for White, because Sahil, as you mentioned, that Knight is not on G3. White is not afraid because there is no mating net against the White King.
Yeah. So the king comes to G6. Now White can grab the pawn on A7. He can grab the pawn on C3. Now that means there'll be a lot of trades. And as we saw in the Divya game, the more trades you have, the pawn trades, the more likely the game ends in a draw. So now Rook C3, and then White can potentially even go back to the same plan in some cases. That Knight G3, Rook C1 idea. And then White will have, Rook C3 on the board. And slowly White is also losing time. 4.5 minutes, just under 5 minutes for White now. Black has been playing under time pressure for a long time here. 69 moves so far, and it doesn't seem like the game will end in the next few moves at least. But a lot of repetition is possible. White has to be careful. The rook is far away from the first rank. That is a potential problem. Pressure, 4 minutes, against 58 seconds. Still finding a way to win this game, but most likely a draw. And that means she will still have sole lead even after drawing this game, because the other leader lost. The standings will be quite close after round number 3 here. Ooh, she almost played, but she stopped herself from moving. There's a pass pawn on A5, but there's simply no time to push it. Rook comes out to D7, trying to come to the first rank in emergency cases. But now I think Rook C1 could be a very nice move, cutting the first rank. Because Knight G3, I think, Knight G3 also kind of works. I was thinking maybe there's a way to escape here. But maybe Rook C1 is the smoother way, because you don't allow the king to come out at all. She looks at the clock, 30 seconds. Important moment. Rakesh, I mean, look at this position, 20 seconds, and then, the rook is coming to the first rank, trying to find Rook C1 is possible. Knight is 19 seconds.
Oh my god. And White has a pass pawn there. I think all 3 results are still possible, Sahib. Knight D4, no! The other side.
What? Ooh, that's a slight mistake. I would rather put the rook on C1, knight on C3.
Exactly.
I think that's the main threat that Black had. The knight is far away from the G3 square now. I don't like that, particular development.
I'm really worried about Salome, because she has just 40 seconds and she's been playing with this time pressure for the last hour and a half, Sahib.
Yeah, has been defending this position really well. Defending is a strong word, because she could have won that easily if White had made a mistake. And she was better for one move with that Queen G8 idea, but very difficult to spot. It was not even clear what the idea is. And as of now, White 3 minutes. Anything can happen in time pressure.
And yeah, with that, we have a very special guest with us. Harika, who played an amazing game today, has joined us in the studio. And if you could just take us through your game, and also congrats on your win.
Thank you. I don't know if it's amazing, because somewhere I was
Yeah,
clearly winning and I
yeah.
messed up at some point.
Just flip the board and
Yeah, it was just normal opening, and here This rook d1 I did. I'm not sure if I did the correct way, but rook d1 nd2 plan didn't feel threatening. So let's say I tried to. I mean, rook b1. I just felt it's a very slow move. Either I thought white should play b3 or try to make e4 work.
I think somewhere around like a couple of moves, like 4-5 moves later, she was taking a lot of time.
Yeah, already here she was taking a lot of time. White has a very pleasant position and should play simple moves. So when she played rook b1, I understood b4 is the idea. But then I was okay to allow that because I felt like White's position is becoming really slow. And now she needs to support this b pawn. Knight d2 can't be moved, b4 can't be moved. So I thought she has to waste more either a3 or bishop a3. And after that, I thought c5 is logical because anything else, maybe rook c1 is coming.
Yeah, definitely looks like black has equalized and you were happy with the opening stage.
Yeah, definitely. I think here the problem for her, queen a4, I felt is okay. Maybe here I think the problem for white is if they take queen c4, I think queen e5.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the reason she was taking a lot of time. I'm not sure. So rook c1, I mean it's just a pawn. Like I took the pawn and I tried to keep the pieces as much as I can. I hear she's already into severe time trouble. In the haste to win like quickly, I kind of started like kind of missing moves. I think. Yeah, here I think something should be knight c6 and knight d4 should be very
Yeah,
strong.
this is completely
Yeah,
winning.
suddenly after getting winning position, she started resisting and playing fast and
You're very well played on her, but especially after being lost for so many moves. And I think she played 23 moves in 6 minutes.
yeah,
in
like
time.
yeah, I mean yeah, maybe in many ways to win, but
Yeah, I think everything was great. If you go a few moves ahead, great play. And here was the critical mistake by your side because when she took on d4, it's just advisable to take
yeah,
with the pawn.
initial idea. But then suddenly I thought maybe rook d4 makes it even more easier for me to play rather than with all these threats I have to. I can clearly say I just need to make a postpone. I was about to take ed4 and I don't know what.
Yeah, we saw you were like you
Yeah,
had your
what
hand.
went into my head, I thought like this rook d4 will be even more smooth and like e pawn is hanging and it's just a major mistake on my part. Even here, okay, maybe queen e4 is working, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, queen e4, but I think the problem for me was, yeah, I don't know, like queen b.
Takes a4 maybe.
Yeah, I think this is the reason I kind of felt, but a5.
A5.
Yeah, this should be winning. I should have just taken this. Somehow, I thought I had all the time, and suddenly it started getting complicated.
So this is also still great, and yeah, now you played correct. Rook
Rook
d2.
d2, it felt like winning. I completely missed this bishop e2, and it's like kind of it's irritating when you know that it's winning, and
Yeah.
suddenly like she's resisting and resisting. And here,
Oh,
queen e4 is okay. A5, I think knight d7 might be the move.
yeah. Knight a4 or knight d5 is also fine.
Then suddenly it got, I think.
No, knight d5 is fine. Knight d, and now you have to find knight e3.
I wanted to play, but that is the reason I played knight d5. But especially with bishop on f1, I wasn't sure if it's working.
Because knight e3 and it's
This
very
is this is what I took a lot of time to calculate, but I just couldn't judge the position like what's happening after queen c5. I thought like knight f1, rook f1. I mean, on a human side, I just couldn't find. Maybe there is something.
Yeah, I think let's.
Yeah,
So
knight
there's
d1.
knight
Okay,
is
knight
too
e1,
tough.
knight e1, knight g4. Yeah, there are many ways. Yeah, this rook c. Yes, I knight e3. I mean, I was trying to make it work, but even other than that, there should be many ways. Yeah, suddenly I started like rook f8 is like something completely unexpected, and then I started like getting into time trouble, and I thought like okay, even if it's better, maybe middle game it will be a little difficult. So I exchanged
Yeah,
the.
just there was another moment. I think you had to get maybe the pawn to e3 now somehow.
Yeah, so maybe knight d7, I was thinking actually. Yeah, this is possible clearly. Then I couldn't judge like queen b3, queen d4, queen e3. I couldn't judge this position. So I thought like, okay, I'm just getting this rook d5, but like rook a5, bishop c.
What was going on in your mind in this position?
I kept on missing moves, and it just felt.
You felt
that-
she was back in the game?
Of course, it's very clear she's back in the game. So I tried to not be disappointed and just try to play the best. At least I know that it's difficult for her to play. So I think somewhere here, kind of.
She had to take.
Yeah, rook c2. Yeah, I wasn't sure what is happening to this ending, but it felt like, yeah, I think middle game I should have finished it. But okay, overall, like finally somehow I managed to get this tricks. I think she missed knight e5 here, and then it's easier.
Then it's a win. But yeah, great win. A win is a win.
Yeah,
First
yeah,
win of the
definitely.
tournament. You're back at 50%. How does that feel after 3 rounds?
Starting with the loss, I'm just trying to play my best chess and play some good chess, and that's it.
And you were the bronze medalist in the last Grand Prix. What are your goals at this event?
It won't make much difference in the standings.
Yeah.
The chances are very less for any sport, so I'm just going to enjoy the games here.
All right. Thank you so much for a nice win and showing us the win. And good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Chat with that, we are heading into the last game where Zhu Jin is trying her best to convert and go to 3-on-3. But Sahil, I don't think that she has enough in her arsenal to win, because this looks like Black has enough to make the draw.
Wow, so this is where we left it. By the way, great interview
I
there.
think she offered a draw and there is a draw. Perfect timing.
There is a draw. Rook end games, all rook end games are drawn, and that is not going to change after 2000 years. So there it is, both the kings in front of each other. So finally, Zhu Jina will be the sole leader by half a point, and that means there are a bunch of people right behind her. And today, Rakesh, at the end, we had 3 results. So you were correct.
Let's go. And those are the results. That firstly we saw Mungan to beat Alina Kashirinska in a crazy game with opposite side castling. Then we saw Koneru Humpy play a very attacking game from start to finish to beat Divya Deshmukh. And finally, it was Harika who joined us very gracefully, showing her win against Nurgul Salimova. And those 2 draws, Sahil, how were those 2 games?
I think even they were exciting, right? I mean, Vaishali had an advantage and missed out. But again got an advantage, tried to push for a while, couldn't convert. And the Zhu Jina game, I mean, there were at least 50 queen sacrifices there, so can't really complain with that draw.
Very close. You said 4 wins.
Yeah.
It could have happened at any moment, but Salome defended really well. And with that, we can go on to our standings if we have them, because currently Zhu Jina in the lead.
Yeah, she's in sole lead. But what's even more important is the pairings for tomorrow. If we can have them, we will keep making our producer work really hard till the last second. And now we see there all the 5 pairings, super important matches. Who will be the Zhu Jina, by the way, with white tomorrow again? So
the tailender, Alina Kashirinska.
So she would love to strike tomorrow. So of course, Harika with her victory will strike you tomorrow again. And as we know, Divya after a loss, how will she come back against Salome? So a lot of important matches tomorrow. So chat, do join us. Do not miss tomorrow's exciting day, because it feels like the tournament has blown wide open after that loss for Divya and draw for Zhu Jina. So it could be anybody's tournament.
Yeah, for sure. And what would be your featured matchup for tomorrow?
Ooh, can I have the pairings again? Would love to.
I think Harika after a win versus Vaishali, her Olympiad teammate. That's an exciting match for sure.
I think I'm finding it very difficult, because every game seems important. Divya after a loss, then of course Humpy after a win, then Harika Vaishali, the All-Indian clash, and Munguntul, I mean, after such crushing games, fighting Salimova, who had a tipsy-turvy game today, and then Zhu Jina, of course. So I'm going to decide that tomorrow, Rakesh, once we have a look at the openings.
Yeah, I think we have time until 3 p.m. IST tomorrow, Sahil, to figure out that. And what an exciting day. If you had to describe today's day in one word, Sahil, what would that be?
Mind-blowing. I think it was just stunning to watch these games and see the up and downs, and literally every game was so instructive. There were so many things to learn, not only the chess, also psychological element of it. As Harika mentioned, I saw in d4. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
But somehow I convinced myself to not do it, and that's we can relate to it for sure. And I think tomorrow's game will give us a few more lessons. So, chat, thank you for joining. It was amazing to have you all, and we're going to see you tomorrow, same time.
Yeah, 3 p.m. and chat today was amazing. Let's see if we can beat today's number again tomorrow. And we'll be here at 3 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Until then, a very, very big thank you for joining us with Sahil and Rakesh. See you soon and good night.